We're still, it's August the 7th, 2024. The record reflects that the time at this point is 2:10 p.m. And we have the Honorable David Holmes, County Attorney of Hill County. I jest with David because I like him. People I don't like, I don't make fun of or don't poke at. So the other thing is, yeah, that's, I do use the word honest. Wow. Yeah, hadn't heard that. Still strange. Anyway, guys, you'll find his budget on page 42. Oh, now. You know, 47 it is. Yes, sir. Dave, I know that you've had the benefit of some SB funds, and not like a lot of your counterparts, you're actually taking the county budget and you're returning some money to us from the letter you sent about the tune of right around $42,000.
I think it's probably closer to 60.
Wow.
In all honesty. And the reason is I think that I used prorated numbers for this budget year. So
okay,
that the biggest changes are I took the support staff years ago, like right, I think when I came into office, and I reduced a third full-time support staff position down to a part-time position, which y'all have budgeted each year.
Mm-hmm.
The current budget year shows 26,158. I assume that's correct. So that position has been unfilled this entire budget year. So you're going to get all that money back for this budget year.
Bless you.
And then we are eliminating that position altogether and replacing it with a full-time position that will be funded entirely with SB 22 money.
That's awesome.
So,
and guys, you'll see this 2108, 111, 16 SB 22 funds on this page. There's actually a special budget at the beginning of special budgets. This is how the former auditor wanted to account for it, even though anyway, long and short of it, you see there's an expenditure for this year that'll be higher at actual, but you won't see any expenditure in the proposed. That budget's just been moved to a different place. There is money in that budget, and you'll find there's a separate SB 22 budget for the sheriff, for the county, for the county attorney, and for the district attorney. Go ahead, David.
now I don't know, in full disclosure here, I don't know when we have our first audit of these SB 22 funds, if they're going to look at this and say, well, you'd already budgeted for this part-time position, and then you eliminated that, created a full-time position. You really can only pay over what the part-time position was.
Well, I got a unique
That's a possibility. I hope not.
I got a unique argument for that should it come up.
And we had a new employee start this week for that full-time position. Her name's Amanda Anderson. Amanda is a 12+ year supervising investigator with CPS, and getting her really, really cheap for her skill set and
awesome.
Education level. She's got some family issues that necessitated her leaving CPS. She was driving to Fort Worth.
Anybody that's tough enough to work for CPS for 12 years, I don't want to see in a dark alley.
And she had a little burnout too, I think.
I would. I mean, that speaks volumes of her character to put up with that for 12 years.
Absolutely. She's sharp as a tack. So we're lucky to have her. She is going to actually be performing some VAC duties. One thing, Katie attends all the felony dockets. Well, the felony dockets and the misdemeanor dockets overlap with each other. So we're in court at the same time. She can't be in two places at once. So I'm going to have Amanda going to court in misdemeanor court.
All right.
And hopefully, keeping up with the victim cases in misdemeanor court. So that'll be a benefit to us, I think.
Thank you, yeah.
Not much else really. The machine and equipment rental line item, I increased slightly. The telephone line item, I decreased slightly. It is a virtual wash in terms of the money.
Out of curiosity and not being contradictory by any means, the telephone, we have that stated at the same as last year, but knowing what you're going to have Miss Anderson do, is it just going to be daytime, or is she going to need nighttime duties and need a phone, or is it just daytime right now? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We'll just call her on her personal phone.
Okay, cool. Oh, by the way, while you brought that up, I keep interrupting. I'm sorry. We have to this next year come up with a cell phone use policy. We got to, guys. We got to figure out how that's going to work. Anyway, I'll bring it up.
The other thing is y'all know I get I have the excess salary budget.
That'll be on the preceding page, gentlemen.
Next page. The state pays a salary supplement for the county attorney's office for 1/2 of the benchmark salary based on the tenure. So I'm at tier 2. So my county portion of my salary has grown over the years with the 3% increases and things like that. And so the excess part of what the state sends us is put into this budget. And these are discretionary funds for my office. I can use them for any office expense. I have been supplementing Michaela Alvarado's salary sum. This past year, at the beginning of the budget year, I was supplementing Katie Cole's salary sum with these funds, knowing that we were going to be getting the SB 22 funds. And so once we got the SB 22 funds in, I did a wage change for her and switched it from this budget to SB 22. With this budget that I'm submitting, I am eliminating the supplements out of this budget, and I'm using all SB 22 funds to do those supplements.
Okay, so we have a 3117 line. We still have 26.9 in. I think that's correct, but we may want to look at that.
I've asked the auditor
Okay,
to look at so that we know what to carry forward. It
Okay,
should be
great.
it should be slightly higher than that now.
that's what I'm thinking too, but anyway, we can just recalculate it and get closer, we'll be good. So perfect.
And
Gentlemen,
I think that's about it. Any questions?
question for the county attorney. If you look at your special budgets, you'll see, thank goodness we have Mrs. Swilling back. And you will see on page number 100, it says the 178 fund. That's the CASB, that's County Attorney, SB 22, State Senate Bill 22, state grant funds. We're accounting for those in their own separate budget. Rationale for that is twofold, really. And all of it comes down to the same idea at the end of the day, though. It's ease of operation. So at some point, we're going to get audited on this, and it's so much easier to have its own budget and go, well, here it is, here's everything in, here's everything out.
Very much so.
We didn't have that with the sheriff's office, so, trying to say what X number of so-and-so's salary, X number of this, that's gonna be a real pain in the butt. So we're backing some of that stuff up. But that being said, we have a budget standalone, you'll see in special budget years coming forward. And I hope it's every year, but they only funded this for the biennium. Now they said they're going to fund it for the next biennium. As of last Friday, we can apply again. So I'll be applying this Friday, I think. I'm already working some of that paperwork. Come to you guys next week for the formal blessing to resolution. You have to apply for it, but we'll apply for these grants again. Now, the county attorney and the DA, they apply for their own, the way the law is set up. That's outside of us, but just wanted you guys to be aware we do have a new fund for that as well. Questions for the county attorney?
John.
One other thing I wanted to mention to you.
Yes.
Going back to a meeting a few months ago, we talked about setting aside some money for environmental cleanup.
Yes.
Reminding you of that in case you want to
So
set some money aside.
thank you for the reminder. I do want to set some money aside. And the question is, where could one do it at? We have a contingencies line. There's a couple places I could think of. Can we have a conversation about what that amount needs to look like? And I know we're all guessing. I know it's a
Oh,
guess. It's a total guess.
What we had thrown out back when we had that discussion a few months ago was $100 grand.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't have a clue. I mean, that's really just a test case kind of thing to scratch the surface and let's see how it goes.
So we're 42 closer to that 100 grand now. So that's good. Yeah. 60 closer to that. He put 42. He's a lawyer. He put in writing goes. Yeah. No, it's not out of consideration at this point at all. It's just a matter of where to stick it in the budget.
I
Okay.
understand.
All right,
I
cool.
just didn't want y'all to forget about it since we had the conversation.
I think that we could easily fit it into the county clerk record management fund. There's plenty of money.
It's
there,
fine.
so
She doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
with it.
she doesn't do anything. Oh, she's paying attention. Oh, plans for that. Yeah.
All right, thank y'all.
David, thanks a lot. Appreciate you, man. All right, good deal. Well, gentlemen, that pretty much knocks out a list, but we are not done and you're not getting out of here because we got to go through a couple other things. So that takes care of everybody that was on our list. we need to go back to the sheriff's office and have a conversation about what we've got there. We have our new sheriff and his to-be employees with us today, Chief Deputy. You guys know Hunter, you guys know Mr. Westmoreland, he's been around before. So let's go back and kind of go over this line of what we're looking at and what's happening. I made a statement earlier that's a very accurate statement, and it's nothing more than the truth. That is, we've put an additional $2 million in the since 2022 into this budget. We cannot continue to spend the way we're spending. $775,000 is all the new revenue we got this year, and error 733 went into the sheriff's office. That's got nothing to do with these guys. It's got to do with the current guys and fixing the problems they've caused me. They've been over budget last couple of years, 250, 300,000 this year, same year before. We can't continue to have that. When I said earlier that after October 1st, if they go over the 112, I'm going to refuse to vote for it. And that includes paying employees. That includes everything. Yeah, I'll lose that lawsuit. But you know what? I can back that up to the taxpayer and say, I tried to stand up for you. I stood up for you, and I'm not going to allow this to happen. So all that being said, I'm not taking political shots. We don't do that here. What I'm saying is I got a job, the budget. Keep the budget under control. We're going to do everything we can to keep this budget under control, because I can't afford to continue to stick 90% of the resources I get each year back into the sheriff's office to fund it, because everybody else suffers. If it wasn't for these grants that these guys got, we'd be so far underway. This budget starts off spending 600,000 out of a reserve to spend it back down. I cannot continue that going forward. I can get it down to 35%, but once that's done. That's it. So let's talk about what's in these budgets real quick. I really appreciate Scott showing up. That he didn't have to do that. He's been sick as a dog since Sunday. He let me know Sunday night that he wasn't going to be into work, Monday morning, and you could tell he does not feel good. So I've got nothing but praise for a guy trying to show up and do the right thing. I appreciate him. That being said, let's start with the first one. That's courthouse bailiff. The bailiff fund, it went from FY22 at 356,000 to this year 603. That's not huge considering what we did with Evergreen, the pay increases. However, they have finally, I understand, hired that sixth bailiff that needs to be hired. That's the one that goes over to the Covington Street. We budgeted for it 3 years ago. We budgeted for it 2 years ago. We budgeted for it last year, and now they've hired it. That is an important bailiff to have. We collect so much money over there. I know we have DPS. I know that we have the constables there, but they're out doing their thing. Having somebody at that front door is just, it's a safety issue. We need to get it done. It's something you gentlemen have backed. I'm glad to see it's happening finally. The reason I bring up bailiffs, this number is going to go up because I'm going to ask for it to go up from you guys. When Evergreen came through, I told you previously in these open meeting courts that there's some problems with it. I agreed that early on, before I ever saw a thing, I'd vote for whatever they brought in. And I kept my word. That's to my chagrin. I kept my word. That being said, we need to adjust a couple of things. We have bailiffs, these guys. Mike, I don't know how many years of law enforcement he's got out here, 20 something, maybe more. Some of these other bailiffs, these are longtime guys. They're seasoned dudes. But Evergreen set the bailiff pay down here way below a deputy, an entry-level deputy. They don't even get paid what entry-level deputy is. We need, and the same thing for the transport deputy, a full master peace officer that drives inmates all over the state, takes the risk of things happening to him, has risk of having those inmates in his possession and control, solely his possession and control, sometimes going out of state to get those people. Those people have a hard job too. We have been working with the treasurer to come up with a solution on how do we move them to a different pay grade, par, on course, on par, if you will, with what other deputies with similar experience. We're still working on that. You got it? You want to present it? Because we're going to bring it to court next Tuesday, but go ahead. Is this, oh, did we enter the corrected number? In that, and explain to the commissioners real quick, the backstory, back on how we justify that number, bringing it to that number. Where are we?
They were being paid less than a jailer. A jailer is not going to go through any type of law enforcement training school at all to become a deputy. So we've been underpaying all of the bailiffs the entire year that they've been certified, they've been through school, they're licensed cog.
That they stayed with us is amazing.
Street with no training. And so I'm surprised we have the bailiffs the whole year. So I went ahead and put the correct numbers in, so like if one is a 4, he's the same pay as a deputy 4 in the budget.
Good. We want to make them similar pay to an officer of similar status, education, certification, and responsibility. just because they work at the courthouse, I don't, people get the idea they're less. They're our front line here, and you see the crazy that comes in and out of this place on a regular basis. The, likelihood of getting shot, they're some of the first people. Look around what happens shooting a courthouse. Who gets popped at first? Mhm. They-
Every week, someone has to stay within a certain radius of the courthouse, because if they need somebody to go to jail to go, they have to call our extra law enforcement personnel, and they don't get paid for those hours.
They work them like rented mules. I mean, it's terrible how they treat these bailiffs. They get treated like second-class citizens, and these are guys. On deputy, there's 5. It's the chief and then 5. 4. Well, 5th level is chief deputy.
Years of experience, certification.
T-Call has some guidelines that you have to meet, plus years of experience. There are certain benchmarks they have to meet in a certain time.
So part of this increase in this budget again is that salary. We're trying to correct that. I've made a good faith pledge to these bailiffs. You bear with me, you work with me. I will try to do everything I can to get this fixed. This is my effort to get it fixed. I think it's the just and equitable thing to do. So that's the bailiff salary, a bailiff's budget. You don't see a lot of increase anywhere else. Bonds and insured goes up a little bit. Last year, we adopted a budget lower than our actual the year before. We're slightly up this year. Like I said, it comes up and down depending on who's there. If you look at the telephone, we're up just a couple of bucks from 3168 to 3250. Repairs, they don't have a lot of repairs. Why we have 4 vehicles surrounding this courthouse, I'll never know, but that's a decision I don't get to make. Fuel, you can see fuel, they used a good bit of fuel. Last year, we cut them pretty hard because we were so hard on money trying to make these raises stick and pay for that. We've gone back up slightly on fuel, closer to a historic rate. Again, why are we running 4 cars back and forth? I don't know, but whatever. Security uniform was a line item we put in a couple of years ago, 2,500. They spent $12.23. There's 86 actual dollars. That $2,500 is really intended, bulletproof vests, things like that, the little things they need. Those things have about a 5-year lifespan. And then uniforms. They didn't even have a uniform budget expenditure in 23. Nothing really this year, but we put another $2,000 in uniform budgets for this year. That's more than we do for some offices. So that's kind of the layout we've got at the moment. If you guys jump over to page 59, this gets into the next bigger, this is not the biggest part of the sheriff's budget, but this is the sheriff department law enforcement. So you can see the salaries. Those salary numbers are based upon the 29 people plus the sheriff that was previously allotted. There is a question where we allotted somebody new, whether we have 30 people or 29 people. In 2022, we did the budget on the Excel workbook. I've got the personnel file. We allotted 29 people plus the sheriff. It's a total of 30 people. Somehow last year they got 30 plus 1, and I can't find in our record where we ever approved anybody else. We're going to look into that further, and I'll report back to this quarter what my findings are. The deal is, though, that puts a lot more money in this budget. So we'll come back to that in a minute. So we're looking at total personnel salaries and benefits, a little over $3 million alone. I mean, people are our most expensive and our most useful asset. We pay for them. We pay for good people. We pay for training. If you look at the rest of it, there's not huge increases in here. We've got another $100 in dues and memberships. Traditionally, they've not spent the money allotted to them, but they requested another 100. I don't know what the new sheriff is going to want, so we did that. Training, mileage, and reimbursement. Last year was 8,500. They spent 3,700 a day. We put 10,000 in. We had bonds and insurance. These are the actual cost, our estimated costs. So you see that 35,687 is actually a placeholder. It's the same number as last year. We'll figure those bonds closer to the 27th and see what we're actually paying out of pocket, make a little better choice. The health insurance, that's based upon the numbers that we currently have from Curative. Rachel has been a rock star this whole session getting it in. So that's the reason that's $90,000 down from last year. One of the big reasons, not the only reason. If you move on to operating expenses, starting at your 105, 3102, 3201 line, I'm sorry, I jumped back. Supplies, the 105, 3102, 3101 line, supplies. I never got a good answer, but supplies is meant to be office supplies, paper, notepads, copier paper, pens, pencils, things like that. You'll see down there's other supplies later. We'll get to that in a second. Postage has been pretty steady. They spend about $1,300 a year. We budget them $1,500 a year. Some years it's up, some years it's down. This year, I expect it's going to be pretty close to that $1,500, just the way things have been working. Software and maintenance. I'm frank with you, I didn't get a good outline from them this year. 2 years ago, we had actual software and maintenance costs of 729. I don't know what went into that. I think it was too, and it wasn't supposed to go into that line, but that's where it got stuck. Again, it is what it is. It happened in the past. I can't fix it now. That's,
3103 is probably it was the dishwasher lease. We kind of use 3103 for rental, machine and equipment rental and or software and maintenance.
okay. So
Maintenance.
do we have any software? We support quite a bit of the sheriff's software through the IT budget.
IT paid for the Motorola film software, that's about between $700.
Yeah. It could have been like something else came out of it, but we're planning. Is there any software that you're aware of down there, guys, that we don't maintain at the moment through your budget, Philip?
Software,
Yeah,
not that I'm aware of.
I didn't think so either. I
Hey,
didn't
Judge,
change it. What's that? Go ahead. You guys ask questions. Yeah.
I think the software previously that was on there was absorbed by IT, and that was Absolute, and that was around, I think, $2 or $3 grand a year. That was to be able
Okay.
to remotely deactivate can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. This is good information. Thank you.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you couldn't hear me.
No, that's right. We pay the big dollars is what I was telling them. You remember these?
It was to be able to remotely deactivate computers and track them and stuff like that through a third-party software that was, I think it ties into the BIOS system. Philip, do you
Okay.
remember?
Yeah. Yeah, and IT pays that now. So you're right. So right now, what we're paying at 5,000 out of there is really not software and maintenance. It's more a lease on something. We might want to change the name of that or reroute that. I'm not saying take the money out of their budget, but put it in a line that may be more transparent than spending it on. I'm gonna put a check mark beside that. Chris, thanks for that input. I appreciate you, man. You jump in anytime you got one of those things over here.
Yes.
Next is repairs. Repairs, we budgeted 75,000 for last year, and look, frankly, this is not the jail. This is LE. They've already burned through that $79,000 in repairs. We put 100,000 in for this next year. We've upped it by 25% from year to year. I know that we've got some old vehicles, but we don't have that many old vehicles left. Matter of fact, this is the best our fleet has ever been. We used to have some antiques, BSO car, for example. I don't know why we're having $100,000 a year in repairs. Yes, ma'am.
Probably a few are accidents, and at the next court, I was gonna certify the numbers, because if they're not certified, you don't
Yes.
increase the repair line. for
Okay.
them. So
And we're gonna have accidents. We bring in the people from TAC to do the safety driving schools or driving simulators. But as many miles as Hill County puts on the road. Wait a minute, is that allowed? You can tag team somebody else in? Yo, Phil, come here.
Just did.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that. Anyway, long and short of things, yeah, we're gonna have some accidents. We just run 1,000,000 miles a year on all the different vehicles across. That happens. Okay, well, I appreciate that explanation, but that repairs is up to 100,000. Canine supply, I will make no commentary on that. They requested to go from 2,000 to 5,000 in canine supplies. I put it in there. You guys can do what you want. Fuel, we jumped it from 130 to 140. What's that? That's the one we got lied to about, I think. I think we have one dog left. Do we still have a dog? Oh. We have a dog in training. I didn't know that. When did we, was it the employee or the dog? I'm not being facetious, guys. I'm sorry. I really gotta ask.
And a new dog versus an old dog, and there was an issue. And so I think there's a new dog coming.
What is this dog being trained at?
I think it just went to school for 4 weeks.
Who's keeping it? Who's paying for it? It's the bane of our existence. I know that
We don't have any more dogs.
I'm not voting for another dog. I'm sorry. I'm not. At this point, I'm done. We've been lied to. We've been sued by people. This dog has done nothing useful for us. They're like, well, I found dope on the interstate. That's on the interstate. Let somebody else find that dope. We got plenty of dope over on the west side of the county. Go get that dope. Yeah, precinct 1. That's it. It's the reason we built the sheriff's office, an office over there to use. It's not used because we have dope over there. So anyway, neither said or done. All right. So there's money there for that. Canine supplies. We're going to look into that and see if that needs to be corrected. Fuel, we went up another 10,000 to 140,000 on fuel. Radio, there's a little money in there. That's for basic repairs. They run a ton of radios. They're gonna run a ton more if me and Chris and Tom get our way. Inside the jail right now, it's a mess over there, from this standpoint, communication. We had a really, really hard lesson learned, about 2 months ago. There was a suspected fire in the jail. There was a small fire, more smoke than anything. But when we got in there, nobody can communicate in the jail because they're using these on beyond apps in their phones or something. And there's no cell phone service in a jail, which is a good thing. You should not have cell phone service in a jail as a general rule of thumb, because people in jail have time in their hands and they get cell phones in ways you don't want to talk about in public. So that being said, we are looking at the possibility of putting an 800 megahertz repeater in there and buying radios for those guys. So they have 800 megahertz radios. Now they don't need dual band $2,500 piece radios, but they need radios. So Chris is working right now, getting a bid on that. Once we get that number, we'll bring it back to you. But we believe, in all honesty, that we need to equip the jail with that 800 megahertz we went to everywhere else, and it needs to work. And why does it need to work? Because in emergencies, it's not just the jailers talking to each other. It's our firefighters trying to communicate to the outside of the building. They couldn't do it. It's other officers trying to communicate to the outside of the building. They couldn't do it. There's no way to use a radio inside of that jail. We have a fire, we have a tornado, we have some mass casualty incident, we have whatever in there. Emergency response, not communicate from inside to outside and vice versa. We need to fix that. It's going to cost money to fix it. Sorry, everything costs money. I will figure. It could do that too. So we're looking at the budget, what's coming up at the end of the year, what's left over and laying around. This is going to be a 3-card money kind of shuffle thing, figuring out we're going to take a little from here, a little from there. I don't have numbers yet. I'll come back to you for your permission and your acceptance. Obviously, y'all get the last say. I really think we need to fix this problem.
Communication, the reason that you have thing.
Yes, sir.
We're looking at it right now.
Yes, sir. Amen. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Hunter.
So how is the Spillman server, backup server?
The Spillman backup server, you know how old it is?
The server that runs the Motorola Stillman software,
Yeah, and dispatch the server for that.
it was installed just before I came on board. It was installed in the fall of 2019.
Do we have a backup server for that? At the sheriff?
Backup server, no, so we do not. It is backed up every night, but it's not a live, it's not a, it's a, what you call a cold standby, not a hot standby.
Just thought that we may need one, I'm not sure.
I'll be honest with you, Hunter, if we put a server in, we're not going to put it in at the sheriff's office. We'll back up to it at an offsite location. I'm just going to be real frank with you. That IT room down there is trash. It's too small. It's not big enough. It's not maintained. It's dirty, it's nasty, and it's not a good environment for those things. When we go to build the new administrative office building, that's going to change. We're going to build an actual server room in that new administration office building. But for right now, if that's something we need to do, we can do that. We're just going to back it up to an offsite location. So I appreciate your input on that, though. Cool. I don't think that dog is going to bring enough money. Maybe so, maybe so. All right, back to this so we can get out of here in timely fashion. Security equipment is $30,000. That's $10,000 over last year. Understanding we have a new sheriff coming in, trying to put additional money in this budget. You see, I've stuck 5 and 10,000 here and there. It's because the new sheriff, we did the same thing years ago. Ronnie came in. This is my 6th sheriff to do this for. You've got to give a little extra up front. Maybe next year we don't need that much. Maybe next year we need all of it. I don't know, but just trying to give them some leeway. Uniforms, we went from 15,000 to 20,000. Please don't come in and change the color of uniform just for the sake of coloring uniform changes. Please don't do that to me again. They did it last time.
Everybody needs a class A.
What's a Class A uniform?
Like for events and Ford, and they don't have it.
Never had them. Never once.
They don't have it.
I've never seen it. It's never been in this budget. I've been here 18 years doing it, 17th budget. I know you're going to find the resources are way different here, man. I get it. This is different than what you're used to. Other supplies, we have other supplies. That's going to be everything from your, even tasers go in there, bullets go in there. You name it. If they're going to use it inside of law enforcement, it traditionally fell in other supplies. That's where it's at. It's just, it's not the best way of doing things, but it's a way of doing things. And maybe working with the new sheriff and in future budget years, we can kind of sort that stuff out into some different lines, have a little more transparency. We have no proposed capital outlay this year in that line item. We do have the capital lease though. So capital outlay versus capital lease. Several years ago, the sheriff's department got in with American Leasing. They're actually leasing these vehicles and not buying them outright. I think that's something that we're going to relook at in this coming year after the new sheriff takes over pursuant to conversations. They need a little time to get everything in their hands. So
Are
we're
there
just,
still any vehicles due to come in? Or
no,
they
we
all
finally,
in?
did we all get them all? One of them came in like last month.
We got some for Mr. Brooks, but we did not receive the one for Mr. Ward.
Okay, so that one's still, there is one more to come in then.
More
Yeah.
than-
That's,
And it has. to be
Trash.
bought for financing, I don't know, the payments,
Mm.
I'm thinking about that.
yeah, so we're leaving it status quo at the moment. We're not going to approve any new vehicle contracts between October 1 and the end of the year. We're going to wait till the new sheriff comes in and see what he wants to do with vehicles. That gives him some leeway. So moving on to your health and safety, this is the budget that we talked about taking away from the sheriff's office. I've had talks with both the incoming sheriff and his chief deputy and have agreed to leave it there for another year to see if they can get that under a place that everybody's happy with. I think Jeff Ward is a great employee at the county. I think he does a yeoman's job, but there ain't enough Jeff to go around, and having Jeff respond to both his duties as OSSF and environmental and to taking up daily duties, it's a difficult deal to put that much on one dude. So, but pursuant to conversations I've had with the incoming sheriff, I have left that under the sheriff's office for this next year, and we will talk about how that,
Jeff has been really good. Anytime I've got trash that nobody's picked up,
he's
I
great.
send him a picture of it and he gets on it. He takes care of it.
He's really good at what he
Very
does.
proactive. Yeah, but he does it with him.
Yeah, he does. He's working his tail off. He's something else. Animal control and stray on page 62. That's Ricky Brooks. He is the most valuable player award each year around here. I know he's not a licensed officer, but he calms down more problems than oil on water. He is something else. So his, again, it's talking about pay. Nothing really proposed more than the 3.2. Dues and memberships went up slightly. He has come to me with some requests. It's a capital lease at the bottom is that truck we got him. But there's, we need a need for a squeeze chute over there. We don't have a squeeze chute. We're looking around. I'm going to figure some stuff out close to the end of this year. If there's contingency money left, I'd like to talk. Yes, sir. What you got? We need a squeeze chute. Okay, so this is a new problem. We need two, but I think I got the first part solved. RFID tags. So it's not implemented everywhere, but it's coming because you've seen the FDA regs, the farmer guy that runs cattle. We have to check those for tags. So we either get them in a squeeze chute here, or we take them over and pay to do it at the vet's office. And his take is, man, I can do it. No, it's a good question. It's a great question. And it leads us into something else. And you're like, well, Justin, why didn't you ask me for an RFID reader? Because the state of Texas gave maybe, but the state of Texas gave RFID readers to their animal health commission people and gave them to veterinarians for free. I'm like, well, why didn't you give the sheriff's department one? So I've run that up the poll with our state representative and state senator and some other people. And what did that guy say the other day? I'm going to put them all in a box and shake it until money falls out. That's the game plan. So I didn't ask for the RFID reader because he said, look, I've got a good relationship with our current animal health commission guy for this. He goes, anytime you need it, you call me, you got it, we're done. So, but that's why we need the head chute. We're not palpating cows. We're not doing that kind of stuff. Apparently I found out something about the sheep market. It's way more lucrative than I thought. We've picked up some sheep lately. No, they were strays. We were on the law on this one. Well, we have a sheep down there, and I was thinking about making like precinct 4 mascot, but no, because I couldn't do that. So, so he's doing pretty good on moving these sheep around. Ricky is something else. If you ever get 10 minutes, you sit down and talk to that guy. It'll amaze you what he comes across. My favorite story still is the Cape buffalo, though. And you found Cape buffalo in Hill County a couple of years ago. That's one of the reasons we have the repair bill so high on cars too, by the way. Anyway. So Rick Brooks does an incredible job for us. We went down slightly on his fuel to 5,500. I don't know that that's wise. We may need to bring that back to 6, the same as it was last year. We're going to double check where his fuel is again and get back with you guys. That was the request. I just don't think that number is going to work out simply because he responds all the time, everywhere, and he burns a lot of fuel. Now, the new truck may use a lot less fuel, I think is what they're thinking in this number, because he went from that big old 3/4 ton monstrosity that he had down to this other truck. So maybe this is going to work better and it uses less fuel. I don't know, but that's a request. So that's where it's at. School resource officer, you'll see that this budget went down some, but not as much as you would think. Because there used to be 2 school resource officers, there's currently only 1. We adjusted the revenue to show for that. But this budget shows that we've got some training mileage and reimbursement of 4,500. We've got 2,000 for repairs, 5,500 for fuel, and 3,000 for uniforms. One man does not need $3,000 for uniforms. Doesn't need $1,000 for uniforms. I propose that we reduce that to at least 1,000, and we look further if we can for service on that.
So
Yeah.
the other 2 in the bonds and insurance.
Yeah.
Put the other 2
Oh, yeah,
out.
that's right. We can take that out too. So yeah, so
So it'll need, I'm just saying the 2 you take out of uniforms, put it in bonds and insurance. I guess it didn't get allocated, well, we paid the bill in July after this was printed. so
Well,
have to see
I
what it is.
bet that 2,000 we take out of there, I don't know that we're going to need, we only have 1 guy. That number was adopted with 2 different schools doing it. So I bet that number is going to be less than 1,000. I mean, I can put money in there. Don't worry about that. So we could say for a placeholder, stick 1,000 until we figure that out. But I don't think that you're going to need $3,000 worth of uniforms. I think 1,000 would overly do it, even for that position. We don't allocate that much for the constables.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I just meant to put bonds and insurance.
Oh, yeah, no, it
For
needs,
the auto, for the.
yes, ma'am. It needs to be in there. You're right. The other thing we need to readdress, I love our school districts, but we need to make sure that we're charging them the proper amount for this individual. We're just going to look at that revenue, not going to make a big deal out of it, but go back and look, are we following the contract that we agreed to? Is this working the way we said it would work? So
What school is using?
Itasca, I think, Itasca, because Covington did their own thing, I think. Does that sound right, guys? Yeah, okay, cool. So that's what we're looking at there. If you'll flip over to page 64, here's dispatch. Dispatch, one of the most important services we provide. Just people need to get hold of somebody in a time of crisis, some well-trained people in time of crisis. So the salaries and benefits, again, 3.2%, and the savings from the health insurance that everybody else saw. We have, okay, the 2101 line, teletype supplies. Chris Jackson,
Yes, sir.
do we still have a teletype?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Okay, cool. Good deal.
So
So-
when you say teletype, explain what you mean by that, because there's various-
Morse code,
So-
or the best thing was the old, what were the printers with the paper on the side of them, dot matrix printer?
Okay, so no, we don't have that. We do use teletype still. We do have TDD machines and stuff like that, but those are all electronic, built into the phones now. And teletypes are just state messages that are all electronic. Now they do print off a buttload of paper for them, but no, we don't have Morse code in the sheriff's office anymore.
Okay, that's only a couple of years out. We had some old equipment down there at one time. So yeah, it's bad. Carrier pigeon was right before I got here. They quit that. I heard smoke signals ran into the 70s, so I don't know. Do what you got. So anyway, we're looking at that budget, and that budget is 0. So below it's training mileage and reimbursement. We've upped the training mileage and reimbursement. That's $4,000. Why did we do that? We cannot keep dispatchers. We're constantly training dispatchers down there. And that's one place you can't script on training. I can tell you the results of scripting on training. It's happened a few times around here, and it is ugly. So that got moved up. I'm hoping that we're going to see more training in the future. You look at bonds and insurance, again, that's that same 1,500 as last year. It's a placeholder until we get a more accurate number. It's not going to exceed that, I don't believe. But as of somehow these bills are paid, nothing has been paid as of May 31st. It probably all get paid at the end of this fiscal year. So that's still there. Contract services is $1,700 this year. It was $1,500 last year. And frankly, without looking at the line history, I don't know exactly what that was spent on. Going down in supplies, they have the same office supplies everybody else has. They went from $1,500 to $2,000. Telephone went from $48,600 to $50,000. And I don't know if that's going to be enough. And let me explain why. Historically, the telephone for that deal's been less than $50,000. You know, it was a all-time high of 47 in 23 as an actual. So we deducted 48.6. But year to date through May 31st, we spent 41,405. How we've blown the telephone line out of the water that bad, especially since we've gone to VoIP and saved that money, it blows my mind. So I need to do a deeper dive into that one. It gets the old check mark. I put a placeholder of 50 because that should pay for the telephone. That shouldn't be a problem at all, plus some. But to see that they've spent that much through May 31st, that doesn't make any sense to me.
That
How-
was pretty well all of those funds. Like,
Yeah.
all of them for the sheriff office. That's all those Nighthawks.
Well, okay, so that's not how it's been previously, guys. No, because last year,
Sheriff's never been to 3102 never. been.
okay, so let's back up on that. How did we only pay 47,329 in FY 2023? That's our actual cost. But yet this year, we've already paid more than that by May 31st. Something ain't right. And so something we weren't previously paying out of that line is now being paid out of that line.
For the AT&T and new ones are being ordered, and I think now that Melody's there, we have a big handle on that because I work with her extensively to get those numbers.
So what does this number need to be for this coming year? Okay,
Honestly.
okay, all right, I trust you.
But I think we have a better handle on it, on the numbers off whenever deputies leave and.
Okay.
It's not.
Okay, that was one of the big glaring things in here is, man, I've never seen it spend like that in that line and for it to just blow up. Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, I know that they've paid for things cross departments. They used to pay for people in dispatch out of the jail. But at the same time, you know, they've got a duty to figure out what's going on there when you're burning your money that quick. Okay, sir?
The judge, the sheriff's office is not on the voice of our IP phone system now.
That was just,
Do their own thing.
that VoIP was just us temporary the other night.
We've got, well, on the voice.
Didn't we, when everything went down here the other night, didn't we put a VoIP phone over there, get one up?
Oh, yes.
This is temporary.
We did for the temporary.
Yeah, okay.
But their operations do not run on the work phone system at all.
We saved some money when we did that. Well, there was some upfront capital costs, but we saved some money. That's something we might want to look at with them.
That may be, talking about that contract services line, maybe they hire their phone vendor to come out and do work, maybe that's what.
Yeah.
The contract services, the new hire, their criminal background checks, their mental screenings.
That's what they're using that LE line.
They're using that in contract.
Okay, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Now we go to the big hog at the trough, and that's 105-4101, and that is the jail budget. Guys, constitutionally mandated to hold a jail. It's made the papers a few times lately. That's never a good thing, so we don't want to make the paper. Our deal is this jail eats the most resources of any single budget in the entire county, even you guys' budgets. So jail, the staff wages, this is based upon 39 people in the jail. That is a number, that's everybody in the jail, 39 people. What's that? 38 people. Forgive me. I misspoke because this is another one we had a confusion on. 38 people. Thank you very much for keeping me on the right track. 38 people in the entire jail. So we have a payroll of $2,275,687. That's just the wages. When you look at overtime, county longevity pay, over 2.3 million. Then we have the entirety of our benefits package, total salaries and benefits, about 3 million, just under 3,100,000. Training mileage and reimbursement. We again went up in mileage and reimbursement in this. We had 12.5 last year. We're projecting 18 this year. These are some historic increases, but they need something to be done. We're going to put some money at it and give the new guy a chance to right the ship a little bit. Bonds and insurance, again, at 43,000, it's a round number. I've told you about round numbers here. They're just placeholders until we get closer to the end. We're trying to make an estimate or an educated guess 2 months out. It's tough. So we'll refine that number. I don't believe it'll be any more than that though, frankly. Contract services, again, that number was historically low last year. Again, that was unrealistic. The number they got in here last year, 11.8. We're going back to 35,000. That was what it was FY23 actual, and that is the contract services. That's going to be an argument amongst you guys. I get it. I understand. There's a lot of money. One of the things we are looking at doing is there was a contract with, but we're paying this out of indigent healthcare line, not out of the jail. There's a contract with a dentist. We don't believe it's being utilized, and we're running numbers on it now. We'll probably come back to you and ask you guys to terminate that thing if it continues in the way it is. It's just not working out. So that's not this though. Contract services in the jail. you've got all kinds of different contracts, everything from the maintenance of the dryer to the actual rental of machine. Yes, ma'am.
It's that contract services is mine, like when they transport somebody like on Blue One.
I was told by them that they're paying for the maintenance on some of the kitchen equipment out of there and that they're paying for maintenance on some of the utility equipment. I may be wrong, but that's what I was
I
told.
gotta review it, I should have.
Yeah. No, that's okay. Don't worry about it. We always got time for review. That's the reason we do this. So everybody can look at it afterwards and go, okay, we need to fix this or that. But anyway, the contract services line, it's something that I think that it may be too high. Or it can be allocated elsewhere, one of the two. The medical expense is zero because several years ago, when they allowed us, we pay all medical out of indigent health. Because technically people in jail are indigent for the most part, they qualify. Going through your supplies, I have never understood how the 3101 line is that low. I mean, look, actual 22 and 23 actually have credits to them. They don't make money. I don't understand that. So we adopted 1,000 last year. I spent 200. There's 1,000 this year. I think it's a line that they rarely, if ever, use. I know what its intended use should be. I don't think it gets used. Machine equipment and rental, again, they do lease some of that industrial equipment and, you know, we buy most of it, some of it's leased. And then, of course, they've got a copy machine like everybody else. Repairs. I don't understand why we keep spending so much on repairs. It's an ongoing battle, but we've allocated 70,000 on repairs just like last year. We've got brand new air conditioners in there. We've got brand new water valves in there. We've got mostly all new brand new kitchen equipment in there. The washer and dryer is only a couple of years old. The boiler's new. What else can we break over there? It just seems like we've had a bad run of luck. We have miscellaneous is in the amount of 1,000. That is a typographical error that should not have been 1,700. That's my fault. I will get that fixed. I told you I don't like miscellaneous. I like to keep those numbers low and actually budget money elsewhere where the public can know what we're doing. The utilities, we have an estimate of 125 at the moment for utilities. Last year we budgeted 142,830. I don't think that number was accurate, but again, we don't know the exact, we'll work on that number and get back to you. The year to date was 82,170. That seems high for 7 months ending May 31st. That doesn't seem correct from our previous history. We'll look at it and see what we got in there. But historically, after we did the project down there in McKinnon Street, the utilities have come down, the buildings run fairly well. But that'll get a check on us. Bless you. Fuel, again, we're 25,000 for fuel. That's a lot of money for fuel for a jail. Then inmate food. We've gone up on the budget to 275,000, another 25,000. I agreed to do that if practices down there quit. And they have quit those practices under the new jail lieutenants, Mr. Hooten and Mrs. Miller. They are currently looking at pricing for a food vendor that provides for Johnson County that I believe saved Johnson County about 15%. I think that we tighten our ship up on practices when it comes to jail food and get that line down. We have to feed those people. They're in jail. They're innocent until proven guilty. And if they're a felon, that means they haven't been adjudicated yet. And so we have a duty to feed them well. That being said, nobody has ever stayed at the Hill County Jail and lost weight. It doesn't happen. We serve good food. We're known for it. But things can get overkill. We have to remember we're paying for that with taxpayers' money. So last year we budgeted 250,000. Let's start off at
I
20.
know you asked the sheriff at one time, what are you feeding them down there? He couldn't tell you.
Agreed. And asked him how much it costs today to feed an inmate. I couldn't get told that either. I have a pretty good guess on what that is now, though. So once again, we went back and I stuck my nose where it doesn't belong because the budget's my business. And I have arranged contacts with a third-party food vendor, a guy lives here in Hill County, the same group that's selling into Johnson County. They're part of Cisco system, but it's some kind of industrial thing. So we got those together and they're getting those numbers back. Hopefully it's something that's going to be beneficial. I'm not saying they have to use that person. I can't make that final call, but if it's going to save money and provide a similar benefit, why would we not do that? Especially if it's a taxpayer Hill County that offers it. Why would we not do that? So trying to reduce costs in the jail, it's a huge thing. It's a constant battle. At least this year, I will say this, since Mr. Hooten's taken over the jail, that part of the jail, I should say, He's done incredible. You've seen overtime costs go to nothing. You've seen his food costs go down. I can't say enough. Mr. Hooten has done some good things down there to get this budget back under control. And I think, and frankly, I'll give Scott some credit. Once he started paying attention to budget, because I don't think that was in his bailiwick, he's done some good too. So I'm not trying to throw everybody under the bus and start fights. I'm just saying this is a problem. I'm going to suggest an extra 70 or 25,000 to take that to 275. But those last couple of years, FY 22, FY 23, remember in FY 23, we budgeted 250,000, the most we'd ever budgeted for a jail. Because the previous year was a one-off, it was a one-time, it's never going to happen again. And they burned that 250,000 before the 1st of May. And then they wound up spending only the rest of the year, 300, another 121. How's that work? So I'm just saying things can change down there for the better. Yeah, Fish Fridays. I don't know. Uniforms are 16,000 in uniforms there, same as last year. They didn't expend that fund. We're good. So total supplies, they're down a little bit, but that's because the jail food, we have gotten that under control. They're up 9,000 over last year, but they're down when you look at previous years because those budgets are just nightmarish. There's no capital outlay. The last time we had that, it was for a transport van. Debt service is for the capital lease. That is for a van, I believe, maybe 2 actually. I think we're still paying on 2 of those vans. 2 of them.
Yes.
Okay. And we had to replace one a while back with that stinking aluminum Chevy motor. It stayed down at Chevy for a long time. They finally got a motor in it. I haven't thought to ask about that lately. So you look at this, you look at FY 22 on the bottom, top of page 66. Total sheriff's operations was $7,213,782 in FY 22. Total sheriff's operations proposed for this next fiscal year, that's FY 25, be $9,221,773. That's more money than we've ever put into the sheriff's office at any period in history in Hill County. We're doing it. No, that's everything. That's the whole sheriff's department operations. I go over all of that. I'm not trying to make a political point. I'm trying to make a financial point. The point is we cannot sustain operations where 90% plus of the revenue the county takes in each year goes to one office. It's not sustainable. We can't run a government that way. I have very high hopes with great conversations I've had with the incoming folks that they understand that they know what needs to be done to work within these boundaries and try to get us to a place that we're providing service to citizens of Hill County. We're respectful of their tax money and we're moving the entire county forward. I think that these guys can do that from my conversations with them. So I'm looking forward to that. Any questions about any of that I just ran across? Any questions about anything in the budget so far to date? Yes,
You
please.
should get look at all the bonds and insurance numbers. I don't know how they pair up, but we pay that. Our policy starts July 1st, so we can pay at that time. It might affect the road and bridge as well. I'm not sure.
But just take the money out and give it to me. We'll be fine. Oh, well, so her budget, yes, I'm sorry, Susan, I was about to adjourn this. We need to do your budget. I apologize. Say the best for last, I like to say. Other stories I've told today. All right, so you'll find the auditor's budget on page 35. Hey, did you guys have anything you wanted to add? You're free to speak. It's a public meeting, so.
I really think the only thing that wasn't addressed that probably should be, there's 2 maintenance positions for the jail right there. But those individuals are gonna be going through the jail force.
Good.
So I don't know if that changes their salary at all.
They might and will adjust for that. They're already. I don't know off the top of my head the answer to your question. They are currently paid out of the jail, as I understand it, understanding they will be certified jailers, which I think is a great idea. Anybody taking inmates out on trustee duty should be. They may have a higher pay schedule.
So once we finish that, they'll get 86. That's the future.
Okay,
I mean, that's the biggest difference. So it's gonna be a big difference. Figure out now,
fair enough.
but that is the biggest difference that I would say.
Okay,
I just feel like that's needed if they're gonna be the public, then nice.
I agree. And they will be compensated accordingly. So if they go through those courses and get that certification, we will pay them at that level. We're going to stick, there's a certification and pay plan down at the sheriff's office, court approved several years ago. It has been difficult for us to wrangle from costs, but the benefit of it, and it has a lot of downside because it just runs wild when nobody pays attention. But the benefit of it is we've got more educated people than we've ever had. And that's a huge plus. There's just no such thing as money wasted on training, especially in law enforcement. You guys are a target for everybody. The politicians throw down on you, the public throw down on you, and you got to protect yourself. An educated officer is going to be a protected officer. You get him in this courtroom on this witness stand back there, he's going to know what he's talking about, what he's doing, and he makes us all look good. It's just a necessity. We can't go back to the days of, if I educate him, they'll leave. That just doesn't work. We tried it. So, Miss Susan, what do you got? Now, I've got a bunch of placeholders in here because she had her budget, but we have to wait for the district judge. I asked the district judge that this one thing, it's in writing, it's an email, so it's discoverable. I asked them that they increase the auditor's salary considerably. So the auditor can make as much as the highest elected official. That's not a court of record. I am a court of record. That being said, that rule doesn't apply to me by Attorney General's opinion. I put in writing to the district judge of Hill County, that she should be making at least as much as I make. Include all sources of income that I get from the county, from the state supplement. The rationale behind this, guys, why I think that raise is warranted, and I don't know what he did yet, and I hope he followed my advice, is this. We've seen what happens when you don't have a good auditor. We're paying the price for it now. And I can con Susan into staying a little bit longer. That's the other part of it. So anyway, harder to leave with a good salary. So anyway, go ahead, Susan.
Yeah, well, I don't know how the staff wages work up. We have 4 people. 2 received the 3% raise. The 2 that have been here longer got a little bit more in the salary hearing, and the judge recommended my salary to be 136,000.
Good.
I was a little shocked, and
always get it back soon.
well,
So-
I'm a little uncomfortable with it, to tell you the truth.
I'm uncomfortable. Hey, welcome to the crowd. I was really uncomfortable when they proposed it with Evergreen last year. And I don't care. I don't need more money. My wife does well for me, I like to think. But that being said, it is a very uncomfortable position, and I don't feel worthy of it sometimes. And I know it's going to get people to criticize me. But I opened my mouth and said I'd take it. And that's the reason I just said what I said to these guys. I opened my mouth to you. You've made the commitment to come back and help us after you were gainfully retired. We don't want a repeat of what happened before. You are worth every penny we spend on you plus some, and we're going to have to pay that to get somebody else. So why would I pay you less and then pay somebody else more? That makes no sense to me. So that's you do.
I've always looked at her to keep her butt up, so.
That's what she does. She really does. And she needs to be compensated. Go across the street, and I'm not going to use names, but we asked around, what does a CPA make? If we had to hire her, what would it make? I didn't find one that was making less than 142 in Hill County. That's just kind of an entry level too. We're not hiring anybody for what they're paying. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I don't know. That means I'm gonna have to work harder. I don't know. if I can work any harder.
I'm paying you, so you won't send me any more 2 a.m. emails that I still can be able to get up and read.
We'll take the Christmas party out of your check.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you. Anyway, I'm happy I didn't come back for the pay. I came back to try to get things straightened up, and I worked here long enough that I care about the county and how it's, wanted in good shape
Thank you.
for the future. We are splitting, and I'm not sure if this is in the staff wages. Rachel and I are gonna split Kathy Moore between the 2 of us. I'm not sure that it got in my staff wages.
We need to correct that, I think.
I
Yeah.
think that needs to be corrected. but
Okay, cool.
She was gonna pay the health insurance, but we were gonna split
You told me
everything
that
else.
yesterday. Here's my note on it. So yeah, sorry.
But the rest of my budget looked good. I don't know, with training, if I can get a new person in, I thought maybe by March or April, we'd have the new person in. And so I might want to move some training from contract service. The contract service is kind of our inventory for the smaller things, it's kind of, it's not in good shape. Our program, our contacts, it's expired and we hadn't found a new substitute. So that's what we have in for the contract service. We might, I don't know, to get all of our records, they were just sent down to the support services building and they're helter-skelter. And thank goodness Karen didn't shred them all because
So that's
shred them all.
actually, we have somebody down there to help you with some of that. It requires some education, but when we hired Kathy, who helps Karen down there, that's one of her side gigs is to not only she helps out OSSF 911, but she also helps in the back. She's helped Marshall with records. She helps other people with records. So if you need assistance with that, let's just reach out. We'll get you in touch and start
Right.
maybe getting some
Figure out what we have.
some organizations. Yes.
You're kind of like you're in jail back there now.
Yeah, they're great about scanning. They're great about scanning and shredding. So one of the things that we have done, and I don't remember if you were in here or not, so Sharon brought us that on-base system. It just got so expensive, it wasn't worth putting more money in it. So Philip has found a product called FileBound, because I hate having filing cabinets in my office. They're there in my office, I can't find what I need. So a lot of our records, especially the county clerk, the records they can, very few they can, the district clerk, a lot of records they can. They're scanning those electronically and then only keeping what's absolutely necessary to keep, and they're destroying the originals. So their state library commission setup allows them to do that and saved us a lot of floor space. The other beautiful part is, if I got to go down there, I'm having a bad day to find a record. It's so nice to be able to pull up into something and go, okay, well, I need this and pull it up for historical value. If that's something you'd be interested in, obviously we make plans for that too.
Well, we have our shared drive that we can all access, but then they can make new ones and you can get something deleted. We just need something a little bit with more structure, more security to it.
I
So
think
that
you're going to
sounds
like
good.
FileBound. It'll be good for you.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to online.
Good deal.
But there is something said to have your hands on some records.
Yes.
Anyway, as for the rest of the budget, it's just, I think, pretty well what it was before. I don't know.
We went up a little bit on supplies. That's simply because you came back and then the moves over there. And I don't want to talk about publicly some of the things we're looking to do. We're trying to find some more room for Susan right now. I've discussed this with Commissioner Lake. He's helping me do some looking, and once we get something more firm on that, we'll give you guys a holler. They just don't have enough room for that office over there. It's not enough at all. We know it, and we're working quickly trying to find a solution to get them some more room. I'll come back with you guys and have more of that.
So we're working with it.
Okay, we went up a little bit on machine equipment and rental. That's just copiers. Everything gets more expensive each year. And the miscellaneous, somebody went down on it. That was not my intent to go down on it. It was supposed to be 500. I'll put it back at 5. I appreciate it.
Just put it at 4.
Okay, if four's good with you, 4 it is. So that is the auditor's budget. Gentlemen, questions on her budget? Questions for Susan? I am glad she's back too. Maybe, yeah, so to talk about something that's out of school and I have no control over, but I am lobbying hard for it. It looks like I was successful in one area this week, so that's good. I am lobbying that the district judge, when Susan feels it's time again, she's ready to bring somebody on to start training them to be the next auditor. That means we will have a budget amendment, a supplement, an increase at some point in the future. I have asked that we have at least 6 months of Susan to train the new person, a minimum 6 months. None of this, hey, she's here for a month and that's, no, 6 months. Susan is welcome to stay as long as she wants to. If I can find ways to blackmail her and staying forever, I'm going to do that openly. But if she's not going to do that, we want plenty of time for her to pick the candidate that will replace her. And we offered, myself and the treasurer have offered to the district judge. I know it's his responsibility. He's got a lot of other stuff going. We've offered our services to help in any way we can to make sure there's a smooth transition. It's just that important to the county.
We want to find a good candidate that's qualified and that'll do good.
Good to it.
Or that'll learn county government. I think part of the pitfall is the prior person didn't learn county government and how it operates. And there's so many rules and,
It's tough.
you know, it's a different world.
Well, gentlemen, thank you, Miss Susan. Is there anything that we went over that really gets under your craw or anything that we need to talk about? We'll go back through and we'll do what we said we'd do. We're gonna have a meeting next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, we're gonna propose elected official salaries. I gotta put it in the paper. It's a notice, so I'm gonna ask you guys to take a vote. I proposed what I'm good with, I feel is good for elected officials. Remember, the auditors, those salaries are by the district judge, not us. So that's my proposal. If anybody wants that to change, you need to let me know, because I'm gonna ask for a vote next Tuesday. This truncated timeline we have, do everything in 25 days, speeds things up. Part of it's like ripping the Band-Aid off, just get it over with. But the other part of it is we gotta make some decisions fast. So I'm gonna propose that. If you guys have any issues with the tax rates we proposed, I need to know next Tuesday so that I can get those notices out. If we're gonna go above what I proposed or try to do something like that. Again, it's y'all's.
The FM never stayed the same.
I think we put it at the no new revenue.
We just below no new revenue rate. It would, I think we did. We'll double check that, but I'm pretty certain. What we do with FM lateral most years, we take everything we can take without causing an election. It's just you guys don't have enough money. It's such a de minimis amount of money. The difference between, I think it was less than $100,000, the difference between the de minimis, the no new revenue rate and the rollback rate. So we did put it at the no new revenue rate, didn't we? So this year we proposed that. But if you guys want to see the numbers, I'm happy to get you the numbers on the rollback rate. We do not want a rollback election. I won't vote for it. You won't win it and it'll cost us a bunch of money to lose it. So not a good idea.
You're going to 2.5% versus 12.
No new revenue rate. Yeah. Go ahead. I think so. I definitely on the stuff that we know for sure. There's a couple of questions we're going to check. We'll volley back and forth on emails. But yeah, if you've got changes we're certain of, we mentioned, let's go ahead and do it, put them in. That way we can get a clean copy to the commissioners before next Tuesday, hopefully, of everything we talked about. So you can see that in writing in front of you and get a look at the next version of this budget. Because you know, this thing's living document until the 27th when we kill it.
Possibly increase.
If that's what you guys want. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't propose it because I'm not in favor of it, but I got 4 guys here to do this budget. Let me tell you why I'm not in favor of it. I'm not in favor of it because we did exactly what we said we were gonna do, and we stayed to our word to this point. That is, we set up the guidelines and we stuck with those guidelines. And I understand that some foremen got mad because they didn't get as much as they thought they should, even though they got a huge raise the year before that nobody else got. I'm not in favor of doing it. I will put it in there if the 4 of you are telling me to do it. And because I work at your pleasure on this budget. That being said, I'm going to vote against it because it's not in the Evergreen study. All that being said, I'm putting money in for a new salary study this year to correct those problems that were there. I really only wanted to do this every 3 years, but it's very clear to me that there's enough discontent and people that are upset. I need to address it this year. It needs to be done. So this is nothing against any single employee. This is for a system. We need to bring some order and rationale to the way we do things. If we just willy-nilly start pointing numbers to people, we go right back to where we were, and it took so much damn time and effort to get away from.
This is better than parity. If we go with one office, then it really breaks that parity that's there, and then you're kind of really upset all the other departments, because we can't do 5% for this one employees either.
It is, there's a lot more than just the 4 you guys. Unfortunately, I get to hear from the whole county. And that parity that, hey, we made our word. We said, this is what we're going to do moving forward and keeping to it, even if we don't like it. I know it's tough, but that's my position. You guys tell me what you want, I'll do it.
Or just see what that does to our budget.
Work the numbers up. You're scaring me to death. You're killing me over there. Work the numbers up. You're killing me.
So we could try to spend 5% fair across the board for everybody. I think that'll work.
What says?
Well, I mean, I always want something.
Okay, do me a favor. Find me the difference, if you can do this, because I think it should be reasonable not to ask too much. What's the difference between 3.2 across the board and 5 across the board, and then 6 across the board? If you'll work me those 3 scenarios. We know the difference in pay from today versus 3.2 is in here. So we can do the same math to get to 5% and the same math to get to 6. You ask for it, the least I can do is do the research on it. That would at least do parity if it was for everybody across everything. The only concern is I'm an old German. I don't like spending money. I don't. And I know what I put in my budget. I know what I've said publicly, that we have more in reserve than we need. I wish to be very careful how we burn that reserve down to make sure we're not creating a reoccurring debt for ourselves. Capital projects are so easy, you pay for them once and they're done. Let's just see what the numbers look like and we'll readdress it next Tuesday. Is that cool? We'll get you the numbers way before next Tuesday. Yeah, and that's it. It needs to be sustainable. And we only need 35% in revenue and I'm budgeting on the reserve. And we have 44. I get that. Everybody looks at it and says, Justin, why are we not using the rest of this money? Just being ultra uber conservative. I hate it.
I think that would make all the employees more happy.
We'll run the numbers, sir, and we'll get them to you and we'll take a vote on it next Tuesday.
Salaries, people are going to need to come out to your precincts to help with the forms, anything that the company's asking for, I'd be more than happy to come help all of you guys.
Yeah, so this next time when we do the salary thing, no offense to anybody. Some people are better at filling out forms than others is the best way I've heard this put so far. We're going to send experts out to help people fill out forms this next time. So that there's more parity across the surveys so that people don't feel like, well, that guy just did a better job filling his form out than I did, or this person didn't. You know, last time was a learning experience. That's what it was. No fingers pointed. That's great. We learned, so we know next time when we do this again, how we're going to help everybody to achieve their full potential. I think you're right.
I think that was, certain offices ask for the help and others wouldn't, and I think it was just kind of that gray area, we don't know if we can, and I can't offer that assistance, even though I'm instructed, I can't call them departments.
Well, I think is you got a third party at-one company still in work, and they're the ones that are supposed to provide guidance.
Amen.
And they will not.
They did-
Yes, sir. Correct. I-
We continued that, it was very critical.
I do not think they did the job that we signed on for. I do believe in the general, it was a good thing for the county. It did one thing that we had to have, and that's job descriptions. We've got 90% of our job, 95% of job descriptions now. Those were paramount. You guys know what we fight behind the scenes when an employee leaves our employee, we discharge somebody. We have to let people go. We gotta have a job description stand up, or we lose those battles every time in court. So that was helpful. And the other thing is, we're retaining employees and we're getting applications again.
I've got 2 young employees, you don't ever see 27 and 31-year-old employees only work for the county.
Yes, sir.
And these 2 guys have worked out really well, and they want to stay.
And we're going to make it where this is going to continue to pay a fair wage and an equitable wage that's on par with industry. We always relied on our benefit package to be, that was the thing that attracted people. We paid a little lower than industry. When they changed the rules under the Affordable Care Act, and most anybody's got access now to that, the younger guys and gals don't really look at retirement like they should. We got the best retirement plan I've ever seen. Beats 3 district judges retirement. So what I'm getting at is I think that we can't just rely on our benefits anymore to carry us. We have to have a competitive wage at the same time because industry caught up to us.
You know, it's like the sheriff department, in 22 is $1.4 million. Now it's $2.2 million
Yeah.
for the sheriff department employees.
Yes, sir.
It's increased dramatically.
Huge. And then one thing you'll notice is the turnover in the sheriff's department since last October 1st has turned. Man, we were losing half the employees a year or better some years. And we're not losing that anymore. We would put out jobs and we would get no resumes for these jobs. None.
Just like Judge Eric was saying that.
Oh, yeah.
His
Court reporting.
court reporters for leaving, you know, a lot more money.
Yes, sir. And we've had a hard time with it because you hear numbers. Well, she making 136. You know what? When they told me that, I thought, well, let's end this job. I'm done. They're going to run me out of town on the rail. There's no way I'm worth that. It's even I have a hard time voting for that. And I'm the benefit of it. She's the benefit of it. But we have to change the way we're thinking. That's what the world is coming to. And that's what they pay nowadays. I was so surprised after all these years. And I said, well, the right thing to do is this. And I voted for it. And I thought I'm going to get ripped to shreds. What we saw massive amounts of support. About time the county did it. Thank goodness the county's finally figured it out. That was a resounding statement that we heard, was that you guys are finally getting your head out of the sand and paying people to keep them. We should have done it.
It's said too long.
All right.
Make a motion.
We make a motion. Is there a second? Stand adjourned. Guys, I gotta leave. I'll see y'all tomorrow.